Today's episode is brought to you by Framer and Miro.
This is Marketing Over Coffee with Christopher Penn and John Wall.
Good morning. Welcome to Marketing Over Coffee. I'm John Wall. Today, our guest is Amber Armstrong. She's the CMO of Agentforce Applications at Salesforce, which is over $20 billion of the business of the segment. Yeah, and I am just thrilled. So we're at your show. Having worked in the industry forever, I know how lucky we are to get a CMO at their own event because normally you're running around like a maniac, and at least this is only 2 days. It's not a whole week or something like that. But so thank you for taking time. We appreciate that.
Of course. It's so fun to get to just talk about the kind of futures and where everything's headed. This is fun conversation.
Yes, right. We can get into the interesting stuff. Now, and looking into your background, it was amazing to see starting off at IBM because they had been, the leader in so many areas. And I saw that you were in charge of AI, Internet of Things. But then, you made the jump. You were at LivePerson. I also saw that we have competed against them back in another age, and then finally up to Salesforce. But that's like the LinkedIn profile. Give us your story. Did you go to elementary school and want to be a CMO of a SaaS product, or how did this all start?
It's actually kind of a fun story. So when I was about 15 years old, my aunt was in sales for Apple, and she took me on vacation with her, which was a work trip, but I was going to babysit her son at the time. And I got to go to some of her work events at night, and I was like, this is cool.
Yeah, really.
This is really cool. And from that moment, I was like, I want to go into marketing for sure. I did one job at First Union outside of undergrad that was my first kind of experience in marketing. I was like, I did tech. Tech was like, that's what I fell in love with. That's where I'm going to go. And I've been there since.
Apple, that's it. So you're like second generation tech. And always, was that in the Bay Area or where did you come out?
No, she was in Charlotte. I was in South Carolina.
Okay. Well, so then IBM, just give us a little bit there. Like, what got you in and then what got you out?
Yeah, I have a huge amount of love and affection for IBM. It's the best training ground I ever could have gone through. I went to business school in Chapel Hill, and I mainly did that because I wanted to go work for a really big company, right? I had kind of had that experience with Apple, as I shared, and I was like, big companies, where I want to go. How do I get there? Someone told me to go get an MBA, so I did that. And at IBM, I showed up as part of a leadership community, the marketing leadership development community, and I rotated through jobs. They kind of say, this is what you're going to do now, this is what you're going to do in 2 years. And I always had something really new and interesting and fun to do. And so I absolutely loved it. And at the end of my time there, I was like, I think I know enough to go and do this outside, and I want to go try that. And I loved the AI space. Maybe we'll come back at some point, maybe about the IoT and the AI application space, because there's some interesting things that I think are actually some parallels for now.
Coming today,
Yeah. And then, I went to LivePerson and stayed in the AI space, did some of just the best work of my life. I was just so excited about it. I launched this brand called Curiously Human. And the whole idea was that when you're engaging with these, at the time we talked about it more as chat, if it feels really natural, like, it kind of creates this like curiously, that's like Curiously Human. And it was so much fun to launch that brand, like so much fun. But when I was at LivePerson, I ended up working with a guy named Tony Owens, who was a president at Salesforce. And I got to learn a lot about how Salesforce worked. And I was like, that sounds like fun. Like, I like the speed. I like the rigor. And so, I joined Salesforce about 3.5 years ago.
Just give us like the thumbnail sketch of it. Obviously, you've got a team behind you who's running most of the product lines fall under this umbrella, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of the core products. So when I first started, I was running Sales Cloud and marketing for Sales Cloud. And then about a year ago, I took on this expanded role. And so in the expanded role for Agentforce apps, we have all of the kind of core Agentforce sales, Agentforce service, Agentforce marketing. There's a lot of Agentforce in there. commerce, revenue management, IT service, and contact center all kind of fit into that part of the business. So it's about a $24 billion business last year. And it's a lot of fun because it's the core things that you know Salesforce for, but they're all being reinvented in this like moment in time where AI is being infused into the products, and we're also freeing the products from the UI at the same time. And it's pretty crazy and exciting to be in it right now.
Yeah, that's everything going on here today. It really does feel like this is the inflection point. In the past 6 months, the generative AI engines have gotten good enough to really create quality content or put together proposals and things like that, stuff that sticks. And so, yeah, it's amazing to see everything that's done here as far as prospecting agents or customer service agents. And as you're talking about headless install too is a whole other deal. It kind of blew my mind seeing Slack as just the full CRM engine, people not having to leave, having everything come in and get pulled in. Yeah, I mean, where do you start with this? That's really the biggest thing as far as putting this all together. And where do you stand today? What's the biggest challenge for you making agents at the core and the data behind it?
Well, the data is actually the starting point. One of the most challenging parts, there's two really big challenging parts that I see with customers right now. And certainly that we experience internally at Salesforce as well, because Agentforce is this really wide capability set. And it's really hard sometimes to pick which use case do you start with, and how do you know if that's the right use case? And there's a lot of ways we're helping customers do that. We tend to find that starting with either a service use case or a marketing use case like qualified tends to be very easy or much easier on-ramps. And then getting the data right. That's sometimes where things slow down a little bit because the data part's hard. And it's not it's not the sexiest thing out there, right? It's not the thing that is as gratifying necessarily as getting an agent to do something really cool for you, right? That's fun, but you have to do all the hard work before you kind of get there. And then we have Data 360 that makes that infinitely easier than it has been in the past. But that's what we find. If you find customers have a really good use case and they're really clear, they have an alignment across their team on that use case, and then they set up the data, it can go extraordinarily fast. But those two pieces take the most kind of thought and collaboration internally for companies.
Okay, we just have to take a second. We want to thank Framer for their support of Marketing Over Coffee. Framer is a pro website builder trusted by companies like Miro and Perplexity that help customers, teams, and businesses ship production-ready sites faster than ever. With AI agents built directly into the canvas, teams can design pages, manage CMS content, write copy, add SEO, and audit for issues, all without leaving the tool where the real site lives. Agents bring speed and scale. You bring taste, judgment, and control. Prompt, inspect, edit, and publish in one place at a whole new pace. If your team wants a website that looks and feels handcrafted but is still fast to ship, Framer is built for that. You design on a visual canvas with responsive layouts, hosting, and a CMS built in. So the work is production ready from day one. Agents work alongside you to draft pages and polish sections. Then you review and publish what goes live. Agents and framers work alongside teams to streamline collaboration on the same canvas, build custom code components, create and manage CMS content, optimize SEO settings, and ship everything all in one place. Framer is an enterprise-level solution powered by agents that provide premium hosting, enterprise-grade security, and 99.99% uptime SLAs that give the world's leading brands like Perplexity and Miro the confidence they need to build their websites in Framer. Learn how you can get more out of your site from a Framer specialist or get started for free today at framer.com/MOC for 30% off a Framer Pro annual plan. That's framer.com/MOC for 30% off. FRAMER.com/MOC. Rules and restrictions may apply. If you want to take all the headaches out of hosting and be able to publish instantly without having to wait for your IT team to get to the tickets, this is the way to go. Again, check them out, framer.com, and we thank them for their support of the show.
Yeah, the data thing. Well, but that's the thing that's so interesting to me is that Salesforce has so much of the data for their clients locked in there. Literally no vendor can come in and dislodge that because everything is there. And you made a great point as far as, yeah, it's fun to watch the agents talk and do all kinds of things, but the reality is, like, if all that data is not behind it, it's really not as useful. Like, the usefulness comes from its ability to churn through tons and tons of data that normally, you think about, like, marketing. You talked about marketing side of it, of, okay, you need to pull the list and you need to make sure it's clean and you need to load it to the mailing system, and all those things can go away. But if the data is clear, my gut is that the data is already in pretty good shape, at least when they show up and if they've got Salesforce running. But is that not really the case? Or
So customers, they're in wildly different places, right? In regulated industries, I tend to see that they do tend to have their data a little tidier versus in some other industries where they don't have that kind of forcing function. And maybe it's not as tidy and not as ready to go, but Data Cloud 360 really, really, really helps to make that a lot easier than it has in the past, for sure.
in the keynote this morning, there was a great point about one of your customers is a jewelry company, and they have records of the cleaning that go back multi-generation. And I never thought, you would just load that right up and be like, okay, show me the whole family and show the tree. The announcement of the acquisition this week is a big deal, but kind of what are you seeing as far as how the pieces fit together, and what are you looking for the future? How are things going to improve based on the moves you're going to make?
Well, if you think about Salesforce in general, you kind of said this earlier, right? Like, we have all of this data across the entire customer experience, right? So sales, service, marketing, commerce all comes together through Salesforce. And that is a real differentiator for us, right? Because there aren't a lot of companies out there that have access to all that data, and then it's all kind of connected and tagged and all of those things that make AI really useful and accurate. Because to your point earlier, AI can be really dangerous for your brand if that data isn't accurate and if it's not connected, right? The last thing you want to do is send this marketing email for a new product to someone who has just had this major service issue, right? Like, you really have to think about those things, how they talk to each other. And so I think that's the thing I'm kind of most excited about, is how when the data comes together, the Customer 360 can really support customers across every single touch point. And then the real beauty is things we started to show is how sales and marketing can start working together better inside of companies. How you can bring in that commerce and service and all of these different capabilities. And I think we're in this moment where CMOs, we really have to think about things a little bit differently. AI is like the brand ambassador for our customers. And that means your service experiences, it means your sales experiences, your marketing experiences. If your data and your AI is not exceptional, that is a direct reflection of your brand. And I don't know of a lot of CMOs who are deeply involved in their service experiences. But I think that has to be in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's always interesting. Because there's always been this argument of, the sales marketing line is just kind of arbitrary, right? I mean, it's customer experience the whole way through, and especially as soon as you see a CMO that gets hit for churn or for renewal, suddenly a lot of things start changing as they have incentive to look forward on the whole thing. And yeah, it is amazing, this idea of having the whole, voyage mapped out and being able to optimize and trade data across those lines. As part of your daily efforts and everything you do to grow the brand, what are the biggest challenges that you face, and what are the things that keep you up at night? Tell us about life of a Salesforce CMO.
Yeah, well, a lot of what I'm thinking through right now is around how I help enable the team and give the team the skills that they need in order to be agentic marketers. And I think there's a lot of concern out there in the world about what the future of marketing looks like and how do different roles adapt over time. And so I'm thinking a lot about, like, how do I really help the team through this? We have great tools at Salesforce, right? Trailhead, right? And Trailhead is being completely reimagined right now. Meredith Brown's doing a fantastic job of that to really bring in how can we help customers on their agentic journey. So my team has all been innovators qualified, which is the badge you can get in there. And they've really taken a lot of effort to lean into the knowledge. So I'm really trying to support them with that. And then the way we're deploying agents, I think is super fun. So we are saying all of the agents we're developing have a Slackbot interface. I am not the leader for Slack marketing, but I will tell you, it is my favorite product. It is hands down. Slackbot is just insanely, insanely good. And it really changes how you work every day in ways that I think people can't really imagine until they have their hands on it. My teams have done a lot of experiments in AI. And now we have 9 projects that we're launching across all of our businesses. 9 projects that will be consistent across all of the 8 businesses. And they're all going to be experienced through Slackbot. And that's really fun for the team to get to they're building, right? And Patrick in the keynote talks about we're making agents inside of Slack. And it's really fun.
Yeah, it is. I can see how everything changes. I get to go to one of the workshops where you actually get to set it up and play with Slackbot a little bit and, poke it, get information out of it. And it is just amazing how it grabs from everywhere. It answers that problem. And then the huge game changer for me is the Slackbot alerts. If you can have something persistent that's watching and say, hey, if something happens with this company, ping me immediately in Slack. That's where you basically get superpowers. You can, not miss anything and stay abreast of what's going on.
I'll tell you a fun use case that I use just for my own self personally is every Friday at 7 p.m. Central Time, I get a message from Slackbot and it says, happy Friday. Here's 5 things you did great this week. Here's 5 things you could have done better. And here's 5 things you could have used me, Slackbot, to help you with. And it's super helpful. It uncovers some things. I'm like, oh yeah, I was a little late on responding back to that. That's probably not great. And then sometimes I'm like, and I just reply back and say, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Why don't you go do those things that you said you could do for me? And it's a great way. It gives me feedback on things that are super, super helpful. And it also makes me feel good because it's very complimentary and where it's giving you the positive, that's very complimentary. So it's one of my favorite Slacks to get on Friday.
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, because and we see this over and over again, is that it doesn't have human frailties, right? It realizes that every week you did 5 things. A human manager is going to take you for granted after 6 or 7 months. They're not going to talk about those things you do, but AI will not miss that. And then, oh my God, on the other side, the customer service side, it has infinite patience too. I've already seen this where, because people have certain kind of issues or whatever, if you have to ask the bot something 65 times, the bot never loses patience or drops you or everything. So it's a huge advantage there.
Are you still stuck with the business phone system from the 1900s? Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest and easiest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews, built for how modern teams work. That's why more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams, rely on Quo to stay connected, professional, and consistently reachable. Quo works from wherever you are, right from an app on your phone or computer, and lets you keep your existing number, add new numbers or teammates in minutes, sync your CRM, and rely on seamless routing and call flows as your business scales. Your entire team can handle calls and texts from one shared number, no more missed messages or disconnected conversations. Everyone sees the full thread, making replies faster, and customers feel genuinely cared for. You can even qualify leads or respond after hours, ensuring your business stays responsive even when you're finally offline. It's easy. Calls, text, voicemails, transcripts, and contact details all live in one clean view. With full context at your fingertips, your team communicates faster, stays aligned, and delivers a more personal experience. Make this the season where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/MOC. That's QUO.com/MOC. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Quo can get you on the right page as far as customers being able to reach you and your company. Check it out, quo.com/MOC, and we thank them for their support of the show.
I did want to ask you about, I saw some stuff about marketing guilds. This was an idea. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So the marketing guilds are super interesting. So as I was saying, I have 8 businesses. And these 8 businesses all encounter the same challenges. They have problems with messaging. They have problems with enabling sellers. They have problems with the website. They have problems with you name it. There's kind of 8 core things that they're really all focused in on. Rather than, and a big part of the reason for bringing these businesses together into the Agentforce Apps business is that we don't want to keep solving these things separately. We want to say, events is a great example. That's one of the guilds. And we ran into a situation for Dreamforce last year where we didn't have enough meeting space for customers. Every single one of my teams was like, this is like a 5-alarm fire, right? There's nothing more important at Dreamforce than like finding space for people to connect, right? That is the number one priority. And rather than solving it a whole bunch of different times, we solved it once. The team came together through the guild. We wrote up the escalation path. We raised it to the right person, and we just solved it together. And so the guilds, the whole process of the guilds is that's what they do. They are solving problems, and once it's solved once, they deploy it across all of the 8 businesses. Now, the guilds are also in Q2 launching AI. And so, for example, they're working on their agent around messaging, and that will be deployed via Slackbot. But rather than all 8 teams coming up with their way they want to do messaging for their part of the business, they are jointly working on a messaging agent, and that messaging agent will be deployed through Slackbot, and they will all use it consistently. And so it's how I am institutionalizing AI across the team, and it's really fun. It's one of the most fun things I get to do right now.
Oh, that's excellent. Okay. Well, so maybe we've already stolen the thunder, but I was going to ask you, what in the next 6 months or a year are you most excited about rolling out with the team, or, anything on the frontier of marketing?
Yeah, I think there's some of the things right now are just like make life easier, right? And when I think about internally, and I'll answer this for externally as well, but internally, just make life easier, give people more time back so that they can do things that are focused on growth. So we have an event campaign agent that, of course, runs in Slack, but it backs into Salesforce and Splash that helps our teams set up events, take in nominations, rate the people for if they're a good fit for that specific event automatically. And it's a pretty basic thing, but it really saves tons and tons and tons of time from a job that's not like a job people are excited to do.
Right.
No one's like, I can't wait to look up these 100 people in Salesforce to see if they're the right fit for my unique event. No one's waking up thinking that's a great thing to do. If we can automate that and we can do it with rigor, that's really valuable for the team. Externally, there's so much that we can do for marketers that I just leave this event feeling really just excited and proud of all the innovations that we've been able to bring forward. If I had to pick one, I think, and especially, and I'll say this one specifically because, we were talking about how to help people get started, right? Because it's daunting to think about it. One of the easiest ways for people to get started is to start with your engagement on your website. And qualified, people get started on qualified in less than 30 days. Salesforce started and deployed qualified on salesforce.com in 37 days. If Salesforce can do that.
Right, yeah, anybody can do that.
Yeah. We are not an easy customer when it comes to that. And Piper, the qualified's AI SDR, is running on 100% of the traffic that comes into the Connections website. Because I felt really great about that data. I knew it was accurate. I knew it was recent. And they were like, oh yeah, we turned it on for 30%. I was like, bump it up. They go to 100. And it's been perfection. We've had no issues at all whatsoever. And so I think that's one that is just, marketers just should lean in on the website and start capturing that data and having it kind of automatically nurture. And then if you want to build a better partnership with your sales team, you can pair it with our prospecting agent, who we call Hunter. So Piper and Hunter are good friends together there. And then be able to really take it all the way through the sales cycle.
That sounds great. Okay. And before we go out too, just anything you can recommend to our audience as far as, something you've watched, seen, read lately.
Oh my gosh, I'm maybe a little bit late to this, but I just finished the second season of Paradise. Have you seen
No,
this?
I have not seen it. No.
Oh my God, it is so good.
What's the premise?
I can't tell you.
Really? It's not one of those things?
I
Okay,
can't
it's all
tell you.
secret.
It will ruin the fun for you.
Uh-huh.
Go watch Paradise.
Okay, Paradise. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes and check that out.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Okay, if people want to learn more about Salesforce, there's salesforce.com and there's Piper, but any other resources you'd point us out to or other
Yeah, I'd invite people to connect with me on LinkedIn. I love meeting other marketers, and we've got a lot to learn from each other right now. And so I would love to just stay connected with people.
That sounds good. All right, yeah, we'll put that in the show notes. And of course, everything else will be there. You can sign up for the Marketing Over Coffee newsletter or the Marketing Over Coffee text line at 617-812-5494. But yeah, otherwise, Amber, thanks for taking time out. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so great to meet you. Thank you so much.
All right, that'll do it for this week. So until next week, enjoy the coffee.
You've been listening to Marketing Over Coffee. Christopher Penn blogs at christopherspenn.com. Read more from John J. Wall at jw5150.com. The Marketing Over Coffee theme song is called Mellow G by Funkmasters, and you can find it at Musical.ly from Mevio or follow the link in our show notes.